than the nationwide... Have you ever found yourself watching a war movie and thinking, wow, I really wish I had one of those huge tank thingies so I wouldn't have to worry about my dick being so small? Well, if you answered yes to that question, it turns out that you and Arnold Schwarzenegger have at least one thing in common. The Hummer is based off the Military High Mobility Multi-Purpose Wheeled Vehicle, or HMMWV, an abbreviation that the American public somehow read as Humvee. If we really want to be serious about phonetics, we need to start calling them These Humvees are produced by AM General, which is about as generic of a name as a manufacturing company can get, right alongside General Mills, General Electric, and General Motors. GM actually took over after AM lost their bid on the government contract. But after doing all of this research, I think AM might have known what they were doing. Excited about their new brand, GM ended up making 3 different models of the Hummer. They showed the real reach of their creative marketing team by naming them the H1, the H2, and the H3. And yeah, each one of them gets a sin. What are you gonna do about it? All 3 models are so large they don't even fall under normal vehicle classification, instead landing in the same category as shuttle buses and ambulances. All 3 of which can be found at a local suburban megachurch on a weekly basis. As you can imagine, vehicles that big don't get great gas mileage. The EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency, doesn't even release gas mileage ratings for Hummers because A, they aren't normal vehicles, and B, why does the government want to know my gas mileage, huh? They're trying to take my guns and my cows? What is this shit? That being said, people have done their research on the subject, and the results are pretty much what you'd expect. The H1 base model gets combined 15 miles per gallon. You could literally buy a running car with the money gas alone is going to cost you to drive that thing for a year. The H2 does even worse on efficiency than its predecessors, with averages as low as 8 miles per gallon, meaning its drivers are probably spending more money getting to stores than what they actually spend when they're inside of them. And just reference, the average to mid-size large SUV gets combined miles per gallon of 18 or higher. But don't you worry, Hummer worked hard to get its newest model up to 50 miles per gallon. So, the same as the H1. The Environmental Protection Agency classification doesn't just help Hummer get away without any sort of official MPG. It actually lets the vehicles forgo common safety features that are expected, if not mandated, in contemporary cars and trucks. Things like the third brake light, any sort of child seat tethers, child safety locks, even side airbags. And actually, if you're driving a kid around town in one of these monsters, you deserve a sin of your own. If you do drive with a kid, though, or have any sort of fear in your mind, you probably want to get some insurance. The only problem? Well, it's super expensive. For example, the average cost to insure a Hummer H2 in 2009 was $1,900. That's $200 more than the nationwide average premium that year. Flo does not approve. You could argue that the high insurance premium should be expected when you consider how much a Hummer owner has to dish out in the first place. The original 1992 Schwarzenegger model cost $53,000 fresh off the assembly line. Now, I know that's expensive, but don't worry. Second-hand models of the H1 are sold from anywhere between $90,000 to $300,000. Considering the high price tag, it's a bit strange that the cargo space in a Hummer is actually less than your average SUV. With all the seats in place in the 2010 H3, there's only 25 cubic feet of room to fit your manly man guns and shit. That increases to 63 with all seats removed. I mean, except, of course, for the driver's seat. For contrast, the Toyota 4Runner has 46 cubic feet behind its second row, and 89 cubic feet with the seats folded and removed. Now, this math might not be exact, but I think this means that you can fit a Hummer inside of a 4Runner's trunk. I'm pretty sure. And just so you know, the Toyota 4Runner hit the market with a base model at $27,500. Okay, so the cargo space is limited. That must mean the engine is super powerful, right? You haven't been paying attention. Let's look at the numbers. The towing capacity on a 2010 H3 base model is 7,000 pounds. For contrast, the 2010 Ford Expedition can tow 9,000 to 9,200 pounds. The H1 model weighs 8,000 pounds. That means the newest Hummer model wouldn't be able to tow the old Hummer model out of the mud it will inevitably get stuck in when Jimmy decides it'll be fun to go riding through the swamp. And if something were to happen to your H1 tires during that muddy debacle, you'd find yourself out another $1,000 at least. Replacement tires cost a minimum of $300 a pop, and that's Walmart pricing, plus the $10 of gas it would take just to get there. So I've covered cost and impracticality, but I've covered the fact that Hummer is designed to flood, Right? That's right. Your Hummer and your bathtub have as much in common as you and the Terminator. If you find yourself driving through deep water, which is practical for the HMMWV, but a questionable feature for the civilian vehicle, the Hummer will actually take in water that you can let out later by pulling out drain plugs. So maybe skip the leather interior. Now, even if you don't plan on going for leisurely drives through a hurricane, there are many other factors that can keep you out of the driver's seat. For instance, if you're under 6 feet tall, due to the boxy high hood, drivers that don't hit this height mark often have a very difficult time seeing anything out of the narrow windshield. Which kind of makes some of these parking jobs make a little more sense. And explains why some people don't realize their Hummer just won't fit through the drive-thru. Accidents happen, guys. Now, I know this will come as a shock, but due to massive public outcry and the fact that they weren't really making much money, GM stopped production of the Hummer in 2010. They tried selling it to China first, but not even China wanted part of the Hummer brand. And China sells live crabs and vending machines, panda tea made from panda poop, canned air, Obama fried chicken, and living turtle key rings. Now, Schwarzenegger wasn't the only celebrity interested in the Hummer. See, back when LeBron James was in high school and living in public housing, he started cruising around town in his H2. Considering he was already famous for his skills, most people assumed he broke the law and accepted a bribe from a college. But apparently, a local dealer just realized LeBron's earning potential and gave Mr. James a really nice deal on a loan for a car, which is not nearly as fun as the nickname Hummergate would suggest. Just in case you weren't familiar with sports figures, and if you got the reference in The Last Sin, Tupac commissioned his own Hummer back in 1986, a few months before his death. This Hummer just sold at auction for $337,000. That's a 700% markup. And no, it's not the same that they killed Pocket. And finally, if you still don't get why I'm sending the Hummer, it's really fucking loud.
You go over to China, you take China.